Hi, this is Anna Imagination with a Healing Garden. I just listened to a recording that I made a few months ago, and this particular recording was me remembering my mission statement. And I've had a lot of changes happen over the last few days that have really allowed me to see the current situation differently. And whenever I feel a shift like that, I've learned to just become the student and allow the universe to teach me. That happens a lot where we become the student and the universe requires a lesson to be delivered. But too many of us are not learning. Too many of us are not opening our minds and observing to take it in. And this particular lesson is changing the way I look at words like abandonment and abuser and narcissist. I see a very different world. And every day it is as if the world that I see that's very different gets even more different. When I was raped in May of 2023, I had a lot of people angry with me because I was upset that I got raped. I had other people who were angry with me because I did not allow them to weaponize my rape and make it about them. I had other people who got angry with me because I did not use my rape to go to a court system and fight. My idea of vengeance is a little different than everyone else's. I sit down and I've done the research. I have watched what the statistics are if a woman were to take a rape to court, how often she loses. I watched how many things go through the system and how the system is designed to filter out precisely what they want brushed under the rug. The system is a filtration system that allows it to keep running and operating precisely as it is at this moment, which means the world that we currently have is exactly the way the world is intended for it to be by the system. Because every time somebody enters the system to change it, change is not allowed. Why do you think that is? So I sat and I decided to become a student, and I watched and I observed. And I noticed a lot of people avenging, a lot of people targeting the abusers. And I said, oh, I'm going to exact revenge, but I'm not going to target the abusers. I am going to target their victims. An abuser requires three things. They require a victim, and they require the victim's cooperation, and they require the victim's ignorance. So when I decided to exact my revenge on abusers, my planned strategy was very simple. I'm just going to remove all of the victims. If I educate people, suddenly that person cannot be a victim anymore. And that is one less person available for abuse. And that's all I had to do was remove the ignorance from a victim. So I created my Triadic Healing and my education program to teach victims and people how to heal from abuse and how to never be abused again. And there is zero regression. And I've had a few people go through the program already, and they are showing phenomenal results in record time. And I went, all right then. To date, there are 2 people, very soon 3 people, who will never again be abused. They now have the information available, so they cannot be abused. It's just not possible because they are too intelligent now to be abused. And I went, 3 down, 8 billion to go. Now, as these last few days shifted, I realized that what we thought is abandonment, I have a suddenly different way of looking at abandonment. And I have a very different way of looking at the word abuser. And I have a really different way of looking at the word narcissist. So I live in a world called Analand. I love Analand. And Analand is basically my story, my comprehension of the universe, all wrapped up into my exact operation of things so that I can understand it. And so long as I am in Analand, I'm fine. Because the laws, the logic, and the rules of Analand, which only apply to me, are done in such a way that I'm fine. And one of the things I realized was the word abandonment, abuser, and narcissist actually don't exist at all. They're fictions. Imagine you want to control someone. Oh, the best way to control anybody is fear. We all know that. It might help to say that I did just finish watching The Hunger Games for the first time in my life. So between The Matrix and The Hunger Games, I'm going, ooh, I got some stuff here. And I went, fear is a really good way of controlling people. But I know where fear comes from. Fear comes from ignorance. And isn't it interesting? You know what else comes from ignorance and fear? A lack of education. And then I watched for centuries, since the 4th century, how the people in charge have slowly taken away our education. And I do mean like strategically, right down to, all art being cut out twice, not once, twice, from 1990 up to 2023. So there's no more imagination, creativity, or art, even music departments. All of these are getting cut. They've been cut twice now in the last 30 years. It's like every 15 years, someone says, you know what, we need to make the people dumber. And I'm going, isn't that interesting? The people in charge are still making us more stupid. And I know that the more stupid you get, the more ignorant you get. And the more ignorant you get, the more afraid you get. And the more afraid you get, the easier you are to control. If you have a fear of the unknown, if you have a fear of being alone, if you have a fear of isolation, if you have a fear of change, the cure is knowledge. Learn about what you're afraid of, and it ends literally every fear. In fact, fear should be the thing that you use to go, oh, look at that. I'm ignorant. Maybe I should educate myself. But you need education to even figure that out. I figured it out when I was 15, so that I have something on my fridge. This is what I call an Annaism, called fear marks the spot. Fear marks the spot is very much like X marks the spot. Fear marks the spot tells me That's what I need to educate myself on next. That's what I need to remove from my system. That's what I need to spend time on to learn more about. This is how I eliminate prejudice. This is how well, I never told you, so you wouldn't know. After 9/11, I mean like a week after 9/11, I saw the world turn against the entire Islamic religion because they were afraid. I did something different. I walked in to the retail store where I worked, and I had a friend there named Mali. He wore a turban. It was 1 week after 9/11. While we were still crying together about 9/11, I sat him down and I said, I want some answers. Please tell me about your religion. And he did. He told me all about Islam. I went out and I bought the Quran and I read it. He was a very good man. And because of Mahdi, I was able to immediately, a week after 9/11, differentiate between terrorists and Muslim. Immediately. I, to this day, don't have that association in my head because I chose to pause and educate myself instead of running around terrified and blaming people. By that point, I had already been studying and practicing educating myself in a state of fear because I learned that while I was being abused by my brother, while I was being raped, while I was being manipulated, it was 100% due to ignorance. And it was only my lack of ignorance that allowed me to be a puppet to begin with. Now I have full control over my knowledge. So I never slipped into a state of they did this to me. It was, I need to get more smart so I can prevent it from happening again. And that became my safety, my addiction, my everything, where fear truly became the thing that I studied the most. The problem is when I was ready to start addressing the big shit and I was pulling psych books, I didn't see the answers that I was looking for in them because most of them were wrong. Fear Marks the Spot is a really great place to start because fear does not mean you're being abused or attacked. It means you're ignorant. And if you're really afraid, it means you have a lot of education you are behind in. And it's really important to set aside the ego and the insecurity and really be honest with yourself about that. When was the last time you read a book? When was the last time you chose to learn about someone else? When was the last time you opened up your mind to a different perspective? Because that really, truly is the key to keeping you safe. Because fear is just a big black spot inside your mind where you lack information. I'm beginning to realize that abusers are not abusers at all. I just see abusers Apocalypse Now. There's this moment where it's nighttime and Douglas is in this massive bunker. There's this massive war going on. And Douglas is crouched down and he walks up to this man, this soldier, and he's like, oh, this man is gone. His eyes are big and he's got his gun and the bullets are flying. And he's like, they're out there. And the man is so traumatized. And they're so gone into the depths of war that they don't even realize the guns that are going off are only their own, and that there is no enemy. They were just forever shooting empty ammunition into the unknown because they couldn't process that the guns they were hearing and the cannons were their own. That is what an abuser is. It's somebody who is so far gone into the depths of fear that they're sending off fire and round after round, oblivious that they are the attacker. And there is going to be a point where we all realize this, and instead of lashing back, we all stop and say, hey, you're safe now. It's okay. The war is over. And I think that's really it. The war is over. Now we're just firing at ourselves. And we're all on the same side. But we're so busy fighting amongst ourselves, we have forgotten that we're on the same side. Because we're all just so fucking scared. We are so scared and we are so ignorant that we don't even realize that we're in this massive war against our friends. Thank you for your audience. May the kindest of words always find you.